Satnam.
Argo-ban.
Hi, Satnam.
Welcome, everybody. Argo-ban, I heard you.
How you doing, yeah.
Who else is here?
Ranjit.
Satnishan.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Harinda.
Satnam.
Satnam.
And who else?
Suzanne.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. And who else?
Satnishan.
Oh, welcome, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Ranjit is here. And who else?
Rahmani
and Tomas. Welcome.
Yes.
And who else?
Ravi.
Welcome, dear.
Hello. Well, thank you.
It's not going to be long, is it?
No, so excited.
Just about a week.
Oh, gosh.
That's what I say.
Yeah, I bet you are. You're probably saying yikes.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too.
And who else? Who else?
Guru Atma.
Hi, Guru Atma. Oh, you're coming, aren't you?
I am.
How exciting. That'll be fun.
Workout.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Is it really
and who
cold?
else? Huh?
Has it been really cold?
No.
Okay.
No, but it's not California, I have to tell you.
Right.
So be sure you have something warm. And who else? Who else? Oh, I know you're out there, but that's okay. Bless you all. Okay, so now we're going to begin. What day is this? This is February the 8th, 2012. Okay, so please sit straight. Long, deep breath. Eyes at the third eye point. Breathing from your belly. Good. And go into your deepest consciousness. That's what he says. Go into your deepest consciousness. And inhale. Long deep breath. Breathing from the belly through the nose. And begin heart breath. That is, on the exhale, feel as though the air is coming out of your heart center. Good. Really let your heart open. Pay attention now. Let your heart open. Good. Be present with your heart breath. Good. And now, please begin to send your heart breath to everybody who is in this class, whether you are on the telephone now or whether you are listening to the recording. No bounds of time or space. Good. Feel the heart of each other. This is important. Let yourself ease into this. So often we keep ourselves separate because we are afraid to merge with the other because, oh my God, who knows what will happen if I merge with a bunch of other crazy people. After all, I'm not crazy. Allow this to happen from the highest, from the purest level. Good. Keep up. Good. And now everyone has this beautifully joined heart. Please send your heart breath, sort of as an ocean of healing. Send your heart breath to anyone who is in a traumatic situation and needs this beautiful healing, as well as to all the people of Syria. Good. And now inhale and exhale. And breathe. You can keep up heart breath. He says that would be delightful if you kept up heart breath. Okay, so Baba Siri Chand is saying, I have a surprise for you this morning. And I'm saying, oh, yes? Okay, what is your surprise, sir? Okay. So, as you know, I can't go any further until I repeat what he has to say, even though it doesn't make sense to me. He says you have 2 mouths, you have 2 feet, you have 2 hearts. Okay, sir, what does this mean? He says you have 2 mouths. One is the intake mouth and the other is the outgo mouth. He says both can be used for breathing. He says the intake mouth, of course, is for eating and drinking. He says that's very important. He says, but the outflow mouth is for talking. It is for talking. He says it's very important that these 2 mouths, he calls them, you land them in the most sacred place. And that is a place of your heart. That is a place of your greatest expression. He says, we're going to talk about your heart in a minute. He says, but understand that what you put into your mouth, he says, become very sensitized and allow whatever comes into your mouth to be very sacred. He says he doesn't want you to be a fanatic. He says, but be very careful that what you bring into your body is what will sustain you, not just to satisfy your nervous situation at the moment. He says, or your lack of sleep, or your lack of money, or your lack. He says, whatever it is, he says he is giving you the suggestion and the idea that whatever you put into your mouth does not come from a sense of lack, but from a sense of nourishment at the kindest level. He says, you know that all is energy, but energy forms itself into molecules. He says, of course, he says, imbibe in the richness of the earth, the purity of the earth as it is given to you, as it is available to you, and as it is most kind to you. Okay, now the outflow of the mouth, he says it can be a number of things, but basically we are discussing talking. He says, so talking, make sure that your talking, he says, reflects the same virtue. In other words, the outflow of your mouth reflects the inflow. So on the outflow, make sure that what comes out, the talking that, and the concepts and the ideas that come out of your mouth are also of the greatest kindness, the greatest purity, the most heartfelt expression. He says to be in that place of center in your soul allows the outflow of, he calls it perfected and perfecting consciousness. He says in your speech, please, he says, please be humble. He says, please realize that the God wants to flow through you at every moment. So he's asking very humbly that if you will listen to that, kindness, purity, nourishment. He says your love comes on the nourishment of your words, the expression, the tone of voice. What you do say and you don't say. He says sometimes, he's asking me to tell him myself again. Okay, here we go. There was a time period, especially, I teach people how to listen to their soul. Soul kept telling me to shut up, be quiet. And that was because I had a judgment about everything. I knew what was best. He says, but we were pretty successful, he said. She calmed down. Thank you, sir. So understand that what you don't say matters as much as what you do say. If you find yourself in turmoil, if you find yourself blaming one another, if you find yourself going nuts, he says, understand that you may not blame another person for this. You may not download it on a hapless survivor. He says, go where you need to go in order to download that. He said it could be he says, download it to me. He says, I can take care of it. I can chew it right up. He says, and I can feed you back the warmth and the favor. He said, or take it to a person who can help you. Don't just dump it wherever you feel like it, where it seems most expedient. Understand the power and the value of your words, of your tone of voice. He says, you know that all of you are healers of the heart. He said, you wouldn't be on here if you weren't. He says, so understand that the heart expression, the expression of consciousness, comes through your words. It blasts through your sound current. Be very aware of that. He says everyone has difficulties, setbacks, and so on. He said, but make sure you're not dumping on another person when you address your own. He says, I'm not telling you to fall back. Always be gentle. Always appear to be calm. He says, there are times when I will tell you, when your soul will tell you, stand up. Hold your ground. Be aggressive. He says, but that is still coming from that purity of consciousness, from the place of divinity, from that place of love. You do it. It may sound like anger. He says, recognize, Yogi Bhajan, it may sound like anger. He says, but in cases, it is important to shake the other person's attention. So you must please follow what is given to you in the moment for the benefit of you and all around you, to move the consciousness. Be aware of how important that is. He says, no, I'm not telling you to be uptight and only say one word at a time as you judge it. He says, no. He says, you feel the flow. You understand that flow. You know that flow. You've been there. You've done that. He says, recognize that feeling of the flow. He says that is what will grip your heart and grip the heart of, he calls it the survivors. So I'm asking him, sir, what do you mean by survivors? He says the survivors are those who have been victims of grief, of fate, of pain, of hurt, of shame. He says every one of you have experienced all of that at some time, so definitely, why not have compassion for others who are going through the same? He says have compassion for yourself when you go through the same. He says don't blame yourself. Do not blame yourself. He says that is he calls that the most disgusting habit there is. As you blame yourself, what happens is that he calls it inculcate. That means that you continue that pattern of self-hate, self-mortification, that only brings on more mistrust, more difficulty, more anger, more feeling lost, and more separation. If you do it to yourself, he said, how can anybody intervene? How can you finally accept that grace and that wonderment if you are continually punishing yourself? He says, please turn around, offer forgiveness. He says, oftentimes it's easier to offer forgiveness to other people than it is to yourself. He says, I don't care what it is. He says, even if you've murdered somebody, It is important for you finally to forgive yourself so that you may let go, slip out of those bonds that hold you into that. He's showing me like a burlap bag that people used to put the kittens in and then put in the river to drown them. He says that's what you do with yourself. When you blame yourself, you become that, we used to call it a croaker's hat. You become that croaker's hat. To drown your most important, your most precious, your most innocent self. He says, so please offer that forgiveness to yourself. Offer that forgiveness to yourself. Whatever it is. He says this doesn't mean that you are getting all scot-free. He says, no. He says karma takes care of all that. So when karma comes, you bow to it and you say, bless you, thank you for taking me where I needed to go. And the way you move out of that pattern of samskaras, in order not to build more conscious mishaps, he said, is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself of that pattern. Forgive yourself of that slamming yourself. Forgive yourself of hurting yourself. Breathe with this now. Open up that self-hurt of your heart. Do your heart breath. Allow yourself to forgive yourself. Allow yourself to be free. That is, keep up that beautiful heart breath, that pristine, that beautiful, that cozy heart breath. Good. And he says, as you do that, now free yourself to allow the intake of the nourishment of your soul, of the universal, of the earth, or your friends and relatives. He says, allow yourself to accept the nourishment that is present for you. The nourishment and the support. Allow. He says this is true prosperity. Shutting the bonds that keep you, that you might call safe, but rather keep you in that place of fear, the place of separatism. You are shutting those so that you allow the nourishment, the kindness, the love. He says, feel that love now. He says, it's waiting for you. Waiting for you. And the only thing that keeps it at bay is your own self-ridicule. So open it up. Allow yourself to feel the recipient of the kindness, the love, the joy that you seek. It's there. It is not being withheld from you. He says you withhold it from yourself. Allow the blessing. Allow the blessing. He says, now please keep that up while I begin to talk about your two hearts. Okay, sir. And I'm wondering what the heck that could be. Okay, your two hearts. He says, he's talking about your heart center. He's not talking about your anatomical heart. He says, although your heart center does have an effect on your anatomical heart, he says the two hearts. What he's showing me is that we have two hearts. One is of a divine nature. This is your heart center, and he says there are levels of what we might call vibration or consciousness. One is of a divine level, and one is of an everyday level. Okay. This is all new to me. He says the divine level is always present. The divine level always seeks to flow, just as the consciousness that we've been talking about. The divine level always seeks to flow. And when you do heart breath, what you are doing is allowing that divine level of heart to flow. He says the other level of heart is the one, he says, believe it or not, your heart judges, your heart feels out situations. He says it's important for you to discern from your heart. He says, but not to judge from your heart. He says judging is something that's more connected to the mind. He says allow the heart to be free of the mind's judgment. Allow the heart he's showing me, allow the everyday heart not to stuff you up or not to hold you down, or again, not to allow you to be weird. He says, but allow the everyday heart to melt at the Master's feet. And the Master's feet is the divine heart. Allow that pure, blessed flow of kindness, of compassion, of purity, of gentle but overwhelming power. From the divine heart, let it flow through the beauty, the deeply in love bhakti, the deeply in love devotional servant of the divine heart. He says, please understand that you are moving into the most miraculous, the most special, the most uniting of the infinite with the finite. He says, that's what this age is about. He says, so please, can you feel that longing, that blessedness, that's beyond, that love that is beyond words, that makes you melt? That is the everyday heart, as it serves the most kind, beautiful master that has pity, basically pity on the everyday heart, gives it love, gives it mercy, gives it succor. Feel that flow. And let the everyday heart melt with his extraordinary love. Keep up the breath. Heart breath. He says, know who you are. He says, this is who you are. He says, 2 mouths, 2 hearts. And he says, 2 feet. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep it. That doesn't mean don't jump and don't go in an airplane. He says what it means is allowing this blessed energy that you are partaking of, allow it to flow down through your feet to Mother. You may call her Mother Earth, you may call her Gaia, you may call her Adishakti, Prakriti. She has so many names, but she is the creative of the God. Creative of the infinite. He says, please circulate your energy down through your 2 feet into Mother. Feel her compassion for you. He says, this is not just an imagined thing. He says, it's there. Connect with her. Know her. And then allow that beautiful creative energy to circulate back up through your being, up through your belly, up through your heart, through your mouth, through your consciousness, reaching the divine, reaching the infinite, and circulating back down again, keeping that up, that cycle, that circle. So that you feel the grounded coziness, the true reality of your being. Understand it, feel it, bless it, know who you are. He says this is the greatest drama you could possibly partake in. The drama of your own well-being. Can you imagine? You no longer have to fight your own well-being. Relax into it. Flow with it. Be who you are. Let yourself be served by the infinite within this beautiful, nourishing flow. Keep up the breath. Know who you are. 2 mouths, 2 hearts, 2 feet. Pure blessing of the divine here on earth. And vice versa. On earth, blessing the divine. All in one wonderful package. Inhale and exhale. And breathe. You can keep up the heart breath. Okay, he says, now what lucky person is going to share first? Oh, he's walking around. If you've ever done Zen meditation, you know that if when you kind of fall asleep, the meditation master will come around and wonk your shoulder with that meditation stick. that's what he's doing right now. So if you feel yourself being a little wonked with a stick, or if not, that was a joke. But please, he says, now it's time to share. He says, who can share?
Siri Gian?
Yes, dear. Guru Ravi.
Yes. The very first part, talking about the 2 mouths, really struck a chord with me.
Yes.
And I've been seeing a lot of clients and people around me that have had problems, and it seems like, well, it felt very true, like that was what was going on. That
what was going
we're
on?
not nourishing ourselves. We're consuming food and even prana with a feeling of need, like we don't have what we need, or to soothe us, or to take care of an emotional need, and we're not coming from that place of nourishment and devotion to ourselves, that we take in food, prana, sensory impressions, with the idea that we love ourselves so much that we give ourselves that through love, not through need. And that felt very, very true. I was just seeing all of these different people that I've worked with, and that felt like that's where it stemmed from.
Good. He says, now, when those people come in, please do a guided meditation with them. He says, listen to me, and I will lead the guided meditation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, dear. And who else would like to share?
Siri Gian?
Yes.
This is Rahmane.
Yes, dear.
I have a question. In the outflow of the mouth, I guess I have a propensity to be very literal. And so when people say something and they mean one thing, but they're saying something else, I feel like I want to reflect back to them that, are we saying what we really want to encourage? In other words, say, for instance, as we start in the beginning of the call, I heard you say, I can't wait for Amandeep and the chorus. And I thought, well, of course she can wait because she's infinitely patient. But on the other hand, it was an idiom, which was expressing excitement. Sometimes I hear people say, well, of course I hit the red lights when I was in a hurry. And I'm thinking, here again, the word is being used to affirm a pattern of, well, of course this happens to me. And but on the other hand, they're not asking for my feedback, and I don't really, I guess maybe what I'm sensing him saying is, well, listen to me, and I'll show you a creative way to shift it. And I'm wondering if there's anything else that he might offer about this.
Okay. Okay, let me listen again. He says, you in your being have a way of offering great comfort and great solace. He says, but on the other hand, he says, please watch the judgment. He says, in this case, please feel with your heart, discern with your divine heart what's going on. And together, he's talking about you and him, together, if you find that a person is embodying themselves with a pattern that is hurtful to them, he says, then first move in with a divine heart to feel if this is a time you should bring it up or not. He says, this is discernment. This is not judgment. This is discernment. Do you understand the difference?
Yes.
Okay. He says, move in with discernment. And if I, your soul, any of the angels and saints, if we move you forward in saying something like, oh, my dear, that sounds painful to hit those lights. You understand what I'm saying? Not saying, oh, you're using very painful language, but rather to uplift and open both of you. Okay? And he says, we're going to feed you the words. He says, have no doubt about that. But it's very important that you move from judgment of mind to discernment of the divine heart. Does that answer it for you?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Now, who else? Who else can share?
Gian, it's Ranjit.
Hi, dear.
Hi. Actually, all three of them hit me in different ways, and it was such a wonderful lesson today and so full. I loved the word inculcate that you used, and it kind of struck a chord with me because what came to me was that old saying of like fake it till you make it, where you keep saying, we keep putting those good words in our head, in our heart, or let the good words come out of our mouths. And either you had said it or Guru Ravi had said it before about that Jesus lives on the tip of our tongue. And that was just such a cool thing that I remembered hearing, and I've taught my children that, and it doesn't always work, but sometimes if I can remember to say that. And there was also some dichotomy in this too. I was thinking like how we could take that two mouths, it was take it more like a where you actually are looking at it. And I was thinking about something like, because I love paintings and I love Picasso, because he's so, you kept talking about being weird and stuff, and he would be the one that I would think would be kind of a little bit weird. But in his blue period, he had a picture of a woman, and he made her mouth look, it was like two mouths. And when you look at the picture, her lips are so beautiful at one point, yet they're kind of ugly at the same point. And I was like, to me, that was when you're able to put something and make it tangible, because a lot of this is is not tangible at all. So sometimes it's hard for me to wrap my mind around certain things, so if I can make it more tangible, it's a little bit easier to understand. And I thought she had a beautiful mouth at the same time she had an ugly mouth. And when I put the words, when I took all of this into account and was able to mesh everything together where, your lips are ugly if you're saying ugly things, and to kind of, do you know what I'm saying, to put it into that matter of thinking. I don't know if that makes sense, but that that's kind of what came to my mind. And I loved the part of the the heart breath, allowing our heart to flow in the two different hearts that we had, one nourishing and serving the other, and both hearts were teaching each other. And I don't know, it's just so amazing to put all of this together and think of what a lesson our, the ethereal mind and heart, our mouths and our hearts and our feet, and then the 2 feet going down into Mother Earth. I love that when I allow myself, or when I'm aware of doing that, because the connectedness to Mother Earth and to the infinite all at the same time, and intertwined with my with both my physical body and parts, and the essence of that beautiful heart breath, and the flow of everything that is good and great and holy in myself and in the infinite and in the earth. I love that. And I have found that when I've been cooking for the past, since I've really started on this, whenever I cook, I infuse all of my cooking with prayer and mantra, and lately I've been connecting myself to the flow of Mother Earth and the infinite, and I'm getting lots of compliments on my food, and I'm doing nothing different. I'm doing nothing different other than being very conscious and being very connected to everything, and it's like Mother Earth and the infinite, everybody's cooking for me. It's awesome.
Oh, how wonderful. You've got the whole circle going. People feel that nourishment, right?
Yes, it's wonderful.
Right.
Well,
yes, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
There was one meal that I had that the flavor just sort of took me way, way up, and that was BBG's meal. She had made a lunger and served it to us. Actually, we were sitting in the driveway of what was called the estate. It was a house on Pruce Road in Los Angeles, and Yogi Bhajan was standing right there. It was quite an experience.
Yes.
But of course, it must have been. She is a good cook, no doubt about that. But it must have been infused with that beautiful energy.
Yes, because it just gives it such a different flavor. You're like, wow, yeah, how did I do that? And it's like, oh, I didn't do it. It was all the help I had.
That's right. That's right. And what he's saying now is that oftentimes we eat to excess simply to taste the taste of the food.
Mm-hmm.
And the taste that we are after is that divine taste. So he says if we infuse the food with the divinity, then we get that taste much sooner and don't go away unsatisfied.
I like that.
So very good. Thank you so much, dear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, who else can share?
I think it's me, Siri again. It's Suzanne.
Yes, dear.
Last week when we were talking, I had a car accident and asked Baba Siri Chand if there was it just felt like there was another reason behind it all. And he said, be sure to use heart breath, because I ended up taking another lady's car down to Austin, and she was my passenger, and she told me that she was afraid of driving on highways. Well, after he said, be sure to use heart breath, I knew I was in for something, and I was. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Suzanne, are you the one who had the accident with a truck?
Yes, I'm a survivor of post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Okay.
So, and have done, thanks to you and many other healers, an amazing amount of work to heal from that. Mm-hmm. Well, guess who had a panic attack on a clover leaf in Austin? My pastor. Yeah, and it was, I could have been so terrified, but I so understood where she was coming from. And I immediately was doing the heart breath, and I was holding, Siri Chand, if you're listening, I was holding you highly, highly accountable to help me.
He says he likes that.
Yeah, I was nervous, and I put her husband on the phone to keep her calm, and got to a stopping point and went into some business to see if I could find roads that were not on highways. She couldn't handle the highways. And it was just a really quite an adventure. And she trusted me. I could tell, as much as you can trust someone, you're still in the syndrome. You're still terrified. And there were people there to help me. And I know that I was guided to that, and I know they were guided to help me. So I was nonplussed and very grateful. But hey, that I could do it was another big thing. For me to do it would be nothing that I would ask to do. But I could do it, and I could understand.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I thought so. And I was grateful to have it up.
That as you heal and you rely on these saints and this divinity that flows through you, you can actually totally rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just remarkable.
She's in the beginning of her healing, and I told her that. I said, this is the beginning for you, and what her story of what brought her to post-traumatic stress is a long time coming, and taking that first step out there to ride in the car with me was huge. She did have to fly home. She could not go home. She could not go back on the highway. So the next day she went to the airport. Hey, but she tried. She tried that much.
God bless her.
Yeah, I thought so. Another time she'll go further, but she got down there. She just had to fly back.
Good.
So,
it's one step forward.
Yeah, I was grateful for the support.
Good. And, of course, you all know that whatever our difficulties are, whatever we heal from, we become stronger in those areas than other people generally are. So it is a journey. It is a journey. Well, thank you so much, dear.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now, does someone have a short one to share?
I would like to. This is
Yes,
Satdeva.
who is this? Who is this?
It's Satdeva.
Hi, Satdeva.
Hi.
Hi. Are you coming?
Yes.
Oh, you're coming to the course.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday.
Oh, bless you, dear. We will love to see you.
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
So this is so nice to receive these words today. I've been thinking I have the opportunity to teach cooking to youth, like a nice segment, 12 sessions, and another chance to talk to some older teens and on the topic of my passion, how to feed yourself, and to bring in this spiritual component in words that are easy to digest, that they can take in to their hearts, and so that I can remember when I am sharing practical knowledge, that when I come from my heart, to come with kindness and non-judgment, because food issues are so touchy. We have so many things we're tied to with the food. But there's so much that I want to teach about it, and I've been really, shy, but now I have this opportunity to do it. So this is very timely. So thanks a lot for bringing this up like this.
Wonderful, wonderful. He said he was waiting until he got there's a certain core group that he wanted to give that information to.
Good.
So you're one of them.
Excellent.
I mean, he wanted to give it to all of us, but what triggered it was a certain core group. So thank you.
It's fascinating.
Thank you
Very
for joining us.
Good.
Okay, so thank you all. He is hugging you all. One huge group hug, and we hug each other too. Yeah. Okay, so please stay with us. I want to make a point. It's very important to be on the beginning of the call when we tune in together, because we really create what might be called a bubble of energy, and then also to stay on the call for the closing song, because that opens, reopens that bubble of energy and moves it on. So now, Kahar is not with us today, so we'll just do our best. She has to substitute teach a yoga class. So everybody, please sit up straight. Long, deep breath. Going to your heart. And inhale to begin. May the light and sunshine upon you, all around you, and the pure light within you, guide your way on, guide your way on, guide your way on. Inhale. And bow to the holiness, the heavenliness, and the earthliness of who you are, and play with it. Have a wonderful time. Bless you all. Oh, and please put your experiences on our Facebook page. Again, www.facebook.com/groups, GROUPS/Soul Answer. So we will meet you again next week. Take care. Love you. Sat Nam.
Love you. Sat Nam.